We'll see which direction that Obey decide to go into. Game number 2, hoping to stretch this one out to a third match. Obey with the first pick this time around. They had that choice, so that's where they will sit. Rival get the chance to respond this time. Really curious to see what Obey does with their first selection. I think the composition last time was definitely a second pick composition. That's probably not something you go in if you get the luxury of going first.
And Obey, though, still wanting to make sure that Wlfy doesn't end up with that Ra in his hands. They could potentially look to take the Giannis for themselves, however, and not only would it take that away from Wlfy, but Prime on the mages is something that I definitely prefer to see. I think that most people would probably agree with that.
Yeah, that's something that I would hard agree on. Prime on the Neith was not my favorite part of the composition at all, but like I said, I mean, we don't like Prime on the Hunters because he's just so good at the mages. Nothing really tells us that he can't be that guy in the Hunters someday, so trying to flex different things might work out then, but it's going to be Cerberus this time around. Interesting. I, too, thought we would see the Giannis for PrettyPriMe, and that kind of worries me. Because we have the Ram here, but I think we might see a Giannis.
Well, there could be a possible Giannis run back, but Rival also maybe sort of trying to lead Obey to picking up the Giannis. That way Wlfy could end up with the Poseidon. That's also another one of the classics that Rival does like baiting teams into, is letting them go for the Giannis in the top 3, and then if you don't take it, we will, or we just go Poseidon.
Neith one more time, still with that in mind. Not sure if it's going in the middle lane or if it'll wind up in Ataraxia's hands. We know that he does like to play that character here and there, so we'll see if it works out. Sobek, that means 2 Guardians are going to be on the board for Obey.
I'm just waiting for the third already. Trust me, I know, but I get what you're getting at in that, you know, if something isn't working for a team, and Obey, they're not top 2 by any stretch of the imagination. So what's going to put them to that next level? And I think this is probably that period where we might see some of the more experimentational factors starting to weigh in, but I just wish it didn't come in this form.
It's, you know what it is though? We've watched PrettyPriMe hard carry on Zeus with 50,000 player damage and lose the game. So I don't really know what else he can do. So try a different lane.
I don't think player damage really weighs in that much, though. Player damage is important,
my point is that he had a fantastic game, and I'm kind of meeting in the middle where, like, look, I wouldn't call that an Obey draft either. But at the same time, I think what allowed iRaffer to be successful in the days of Panthera leading up to whatever they call themselves, Epsilon, Energy, that whole unit, there was a lot of experimentation going around. I mean, iRaffer started out playing Thor support and Thanatos mid lane, and that's what allowed the team to get to the point where they're at. So I think this is allowing iRaffer to become more of a part of this squad, and it's, if I have to see 1 step back before it's 2 steps forward, I'm down. Let's look at the bans real quick. No Mercury, that's very important. No Shivalanke, also pretty important. No Giannis and Rat, honestly, slam dunks on these round 2 bans. Cabrakan for Rival, and the Z-Man Senior for Obey.
Zeus really starting to make his comeback lately, plus the Odin. This feels a million times more Obey than the previous composition.
Is that just because
it's
of
the
Prime?
Utility. It's not even just Prime on the mage, which, like we've said, it's not that he can't play Hunters. It's purely because of the fact that he is so much better at, like, mages. It's insane.
I agree.
And the Odin pickup as well for Twig. This is more Obey kind of defaulting back to that utility-based style.
Is Geb not utility, though? I mean, he's the definition of utility.
Do you really want CaptainTwig on Geb Jungle?
I would rather CaptainTwig on Geb Jungle than anybody else on Geb Jungle, frankly.
I think you're fried. Like, they said taco fried, that is F.lit. Beyond, like, no doubt in my mind.
Obey right now. We'll see if they will take this one. I immediately do. I think we can agree that this is a much nicer Obey draft.
This is infinitely miles ahead of where it was in the last game, I think.
Yeah, you're putting the ball in Zeus's hand, which is certainly something that Obey should strive to do. Cerberus or Sobek, whichever one iRaffer is going to pilot. We're looking at Odin again, a character that CaptainTwig will most likely play very strongly. And then Rival across the way. We are going to see the Ullr mid from Wlfy. What's your feeling on that before we go to the game?
Wlfy's someone who used to do things like the Ho-Yi way back in the day, so I think the Hunters are still very much in Wlfy's god pool.
Are we going to a game 3?
Possibly, yes.
I'm worried. This is the second game today that Aggro gets to cast Zeus. Lord save us all. Game number 2.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, and Aggro will enjoy this one.
F.cheese.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
It's good as an emote too. For you guys at home as well as we get into this one, first of all, vote for who you think is going to win this game in chat, because will we go to game 3? One thing to mention though is that Smite is a game that's always evolving and always changing. Started binding last game, like we were talking about it off air, and that's where we found out more info and started binding that at the moment it is currently stacking. So that means that the reason we saw 3 Guardians out of Obey is because Stone of Binding is stacking, which means 45 penetration.
45, yeah, that's what I just got out of my head.
Flat penetration if you've got 3 people with it.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And so Rival's like, it makes sense. And Rival's like, yo, that sounds really good. Y'all mind if we get 45
so
pretty
we'll
flat
3
pen
Guardians, yeah.
real quick? But I like what Obey does in response. They kind of understand that might happen. They leave Guardians open. They don't even ban any away. They ban Giannis Rat and then pick Odin Zeus in their final 2 selections. I think it makes sense.
This is why you can't miss a week of the Pro League, because you miss one couple of games and the next minute the Mets changed again and you're like, wait, what? Why is there a Loki in the jungle? You know, that sort of thing.
No, that's a Cabrakan.
I know. I was joking.
I was also joking.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was trying to joke.
One day you'll get those right, you know. I'm just hoping
me?
Just once.
You're the one who dropped that.
I did not. Don't blame me.
Hey, I'm not in trouble for telling Ataraxia that they should pick Zeus, am I?
I mean, if they win, yeah.
Oh.
You're helping teams to victory.
Go Rival.
Go Rival. Let's find out. Zeus, Juice in the mid lane. Something we're going to have to talk about because aggro won't drop it if we don't. But it's going to be up against Callus. Sorry, for Wlfy, I should say, on the Ullr, which is a very interesting one there.
Yeah, it's scary, man. Zeus can really, if he falls behind early, he feels a lot worse in general, and Ullr's one that can do it to you, but Wlfy can't quite get to the red buff. That's a big win for Obey Alliance. Look, Ullr can box you very, very well.
Yep.
But if an Ullr missteps, if they jump on you, then you can really kill them very, very quickly. So Wlfy has to be very ready for that.
Tell you what, if Wlfy had his full combo available then, I think that was definitely a dead CaptainTwig. So again, pre-2 minutes into the game. Transcendent start for Wlfy. Meanwhile, Vote going to be going for the Devour's Gauntlets, and Ataraxia, the 3 hunters in the game, will also go for the Transcendence here. Mid lane pressure, not too much to be desired here. Wlfy really wanted that red buff, but by not finding it, actually just evened things up again.
It's not too much of a lead for him now. I mean, he can go to his own red, and once Ullr gets red buff, that clear gets so much better because you can use it across so many skills.
Talk to me about Boots 2 Lost Artifact start.
Oh, no.
Zeus.
Prime's doing it now. We saw Lucas doing this in the minor league. Look, it depends on what he goes second item. If you go for Rod of Tahuti, you end up spending a lot of gold in your build very, very early on. I just think Mage's Blessing is so good that it's really hard for me to be willing to give it up. But it does make a little bit more sense on Zeus than someone like, say, a Ra that won't be able to effectively fight as early on. Zeus, if he gets early pen boots here, he's going to be hurting the enemy team quite a bit. But then you're going to be spending a lot of money on your mana potions through the early to mid game until you can finish off Chronos Pendant to get yourself that MP5, or you're setting yourself behind with a Rod of Tahuti. I'm not a huge fan, I'll say that.
Well, the Rod of Tahuti, the biggest thing about that, everyone's seen it as lackluster now. It's not the same as it once was. It was core in every mage. This specific Rod of Tahuti is very good for someone like Zeus, who stacks up damage and gets you below 50% before he looks to execute.
It is. It is very, very good on Zeus in its current iteration. There's no doubt about that. It's just still very expensive.
Xaliea trying to run away, but being chased down, stunned underneath the tier 2. The damage is good, but not enough to find the kill. iceicebaby just jukes out that spit just in time. I think if he got hit by that, it could have been a bit more pressure for Rival there. But Rival were looking for the blue, weren't able to find it.
Blink expended there by iceicebaby, and still no kill, so Obey Alliance likely happy about that. I do think Rod is really undervalued overall. It's just Mage's Blessing is really good. There are good tier 1s for Zeus. I think that you can start Mage's Blessing in tier 1 of Enchanted Ring, which will build into Shaman's Ring later on, and it'll give you extra movement speed off the rip. It gives you a lot of power right away. It gives you more survivability because of that movement speed.
But tier 2 boots is good mobility too, right?
Yeah, and it gives you good power because you get 10 from the boots and 20 from the Lost Artifact.
Which is what you need at the start of the game. That extra bit of power is important to a mage for clear, right?
It is, but now now PrettyPriMe is backed finished boots. He's half mana right now. He's getting no additional mana from anything
Lost
he's
Artifact.
got. It's very, very small MP5. Like, it's not even worth It's not even worth
the life
bringing
of a
up.
support player then, because we're used to that amount.
You get mana for every creep that dies in front of you.
Old Watcher's gift, like I'm just saying, like we didn't get much mana before. Like you,
All right,
welcome to our
Watcher's gift.
world,
Okay, and then what happened to Watcher's gift after that? It became pretty dirty.
Guardian's Blessing.
It became real nuts before it became Guardian's Blessing. That's
Chain
for sure.
lightning out. One of the creeps goes down, as does the second, both in favor of Obey. Twig's going to drop the ring down here, but he's got to be respectful of Wlfy and does manage to leap away in time. The damage onto Callus was huge as the ult just destroyed him. And quick trucker horn pull, and that's the end of his life. First blood, Obey.
Kalas used his underhand tactics to make sure that one of the oracles went Rival's way, and Twig said, cool.
No, they didn't go Rival's way. That's a scary thing.
Well, he got one, I believe. But no, actually, you're right, he didn't.
Yeah,
Obey got
both. That's what makes it even worse.
That does make it even worse. So Kalas uses the leap, and Twig goes, wait, Prime, you have ult, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Let's just
drop
do it.
a ring.
Drop a ring.
Drop another ring.
And get a kill.
Yeah, worked out well. Ataraxia up against Vote in this lane. Neith on the rise aggro. Got a couple of buffs in recent patches, bit more attack speed, bit more base power, things like that. Have kind of helped her out a little bit more so now. And obviously that World Weaver being very useful. iceicebaby gonna get hit by that World Weaver now.
He's got an ultimate of his own. Deathwalker's gonna try and chase down PrettyPriMe on the backside here. Prime is toast. He's gonna try and get as much damage off as he can, and he did a pretty good job of that. And now Twig is here to punish Wlfy.
Oh, Wlfy doesn't have his leap available. The peel could actually keep them alive for a second, but up and down, round and round. 3 kills for Obey as Twig and iRaffer make that rotation alongside Xaliea to punish Rival, who were looking for Prime.
And that's what Zeus does. I mean, he demands that level of attention. And 3 people go heavy onto Prime to make sure that he falls, and then Rival lose all 3 of those members. That, for as much, on the minor league set earlier, we saw a 4-man Odin cage into a 4-man full duration Zeus ult. That's the Zeus stream.
Yeah.
This is the second Zeus stream.
You
where you die,
assists.
but everyone dies because of it. And that's perfect there from Rival.
iRaffer gonna eat a hammer from Callus in the mid lane. Callus, one of the premier Fafnir players we've seen in the past, so it's not a real surprise to see him go back to this game. We'll see if he goes for the Stone of Binding. At the moment, no Stone of Bindings on Team Rival, even though they're running this triple Guardian composition this time round.
Oh, wait. Is Ice going to go for the Cheerio Bancroft's Talon Cabrakan?
You reckon?
Oh, I hope not.
I mean, I want to say I can see how it works, but it doesn't feel very effective in the long run. Hold that thought, though. Prime's in trouble again. Callus with the hammer. Wlfy with the damage. Ice wrapping around the back. Weaver onto Wlfy, and Wlfy takes a lot of damage. Truckerhorn was pulled, and that should clean it up for Twig to get the kill. No, cancel that. iRaffer picks up with the look in the water. Xaliea on the rotation. Callus in a bit of, well, putting pressure onto Twig, I should say. And Twig going to get hit by Ice.
Oh, it jumps just up and over that Cabrakan ult at the right time. Mid for mid. Once more, Wlfy for PrettyPriMe. But Prime's a little bit behind, and especially if he's going for something expensive like, say, a Rod of Tahuti second item, this is hurting him by not being able to spend time on the map farming. At the same time, Wlfy's looking for Transcendence, which needs stacked, so both mids probably a little annoyed at this point.
What's the tier 2 Rod into Rod is what, 1420?
1420, yeah, it's expensive.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Transcendence is the same. It's 1400.
That's true, but you
on
get
the upgrade too, right?
That's true. You also get more stats from Trans 2 than you do from Restore
well,
Artifacts.
Stacked, I guess.
Or overall, right? And then you got to stack it.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's kind of balanced out to a Transcendence in a weird way because of the fact that about the same amount of gold in the upgrades.
Right, but also Tier 2 of Transcendence is much cheaper than Restored Artifact is. So it's just even though they're the same amount to upgrade, it's more gold overall to go for Rod. And even if Prime's going for Chronos Pendant, it's still what 1200. From Tier 2 to finish off that Chronos Pendant, so he's got to spend a lot of gold overall. He's getting close. He's got about 1200 in hand right now.
Wait, is it still 1420? Did we hit the 20s out?
Maybe we did. Maybe it is only 1400.
I just suggested that. It's been a long time since Rod of Tahuti was discussed in a meaningful way, I should say. But on Zeus, it's definitely powerful. Just awarding the inventory for PrettyPriMe here at the moment. It's 5-2. Gold lead is ever so slightly in Obey's favor. And this is Rival putting the pressure onto Prime, but getting answered back heavily by Obey multiple times.
Xaliea able to strip away that back XP camp, and iRaffer's kind of making sure that no one can come and punish him easily for it, but I don't know that iRaffer are going to be able to stop 3. In fact, it does cost Ataraxia his Neith ultimate to make sure that Xaliea is safe.
Yeah, quite a lot of pressure onto Xaliea then, who was in enemy territory, a little bit too deep for the liking. Left-hand Harpies have spawned. Twig blinks in. Forces Ice out. Reset of those, but the Zeus ult is down and just ticking away on as many members as possible. Raffa gets one kill as Callus will leap away towards the mid lane, but Xalia's already there. Great hammer out from Callus, though, to deny the Pooch getting involved, because an ultimate there could have spelled his demise, too.
Without a doubt, and that's this Cabrakan is going to be in trouble consistently.
It's Bancrofts.
With the Bancrofts, Voidstone would help in those sorts of instances. Not sure it saves his life there, to be fair. But he's not getting any benefit from that magical lifesteal in the middle of an Odin cage, that's for sure.
Oh, that's true indeed. I mean, the Tremors do give you a lot of sustain when you can get it off with the Bancrofts, as well as the stuns too, because you stun everybody in place, deal a lot of damage. There's that Rudder who we've been talking about all game long, and the reason it's so good is that passive on Zeus just makes it worthwhile.
Also, 150 power is
nothing to joke about.
Pretty good in its own right. Don't forget about that. Also gives him the MP5 that he was really lacking with the beginning of this build. It certainly helps him out.
Even though we've got Triple Guardian out of Rival, yet still no Stoner bannings for them, whereas Raph has already picked one up on Sobek. I love it on Sobek too because of how much CC he really brings to a fight. Lurking in the waters, proxied every time because of the slow. Tail Whip, also another great use. And of course, the Pluck, which might be needed on this right-hand side because there's 3 members of Rival here against Twig, who does manage to leap away after dropping the ring. And, well, Rival just have to sit in a cage for a while.
And that's fine by Obey Alliance. I mean, it does hurt them a little bit because Twig has been so important in making sure these fights are going Obey's way with that Odin cage, but trading one ultimate for a buff at 10 minutes is almost always worth it. It's just, not only are you getting the farm, but the enemy team is not. So it's kind of like you're getting double time there in that instance. Totally worth Twig's ultimate.
Very similar situation to game 1 in the fact that Rival were winning that game and Obey quite far behind, but this time it's Obey in a lead. The jungler 2 levels up, the support 2 levels up, everybody else relatively even, I should say. But then Obey's Xaliea is 2 levels up on Deathwalker. That's important because the second relic's online.
Pluck onto Kalas, who's A-okay. Still has his leap available and will use it. Wlfy, though, in some serious trouble. No beads for him again and went for the Aegis.
And now with the stun coming out from iCeicebaby, that could spell trouble. Leap away. Lurking in the waters used by Raffa to collapse. May look towards Vote here, who jukes out the damage from the Spirit Arrow, but Ataraxia now a little bit too far forward and gets caught by Callus. And that's the beads.
Ice has his blink and immediately goes in for Ataraxia without those beads. Vote gets that kill. Lightning Storm not going to do enough. Is Vote actually going to take up and do some solid damage to Prime?
Deathwalker can keep chasing him. If he finds the route, it's important. I don't think he'll find it on Raffa, who will dash away. Xaliea now in the rotation. Obey overextended there, looking for a cheeky pick, and in the end, they lost one of their
Xaliea, turn around, brother. Ice is right there, and he's the one you want.
He's in the ring now, and then comes PrettyPriMe to clean up the kill off the shield to secure that one as the damage comes through onto Wlfy. He's falling back 1-1. Jungle Foot Hunter.
1 for 1. Over and over and over again. That's kind of been the set so far, at least this game so far. Just 1 for 1s over and over and over again. I think both teams likely feel okay about going for 1 for 1, but I feel like Rival is the one who's actually should be the most okay with it because their team composition in the late game is going to be difficult to handle with the Triple Guardian and the Double Hunter. That just brings great late game frontline, great late game damage, whereas that Odin damage will not be relevant in the late game from Odin most likely. Ataraxia is not going to be able to match something like a Ram, though I think Neith is just as useful in the late game as Ullr is, if not more.
CC heavy. That's what I love about what Ataraxia will bring underneath. The amount of control she'll bring in the fights and anti-attack speed from the young Revel is actually something not to be ignored this game. Against double hunters too, where they're going to get coerced, reducing the attack speed because of a Revel is really going to help them out.
And it's a significant attack speed.
It is.
Slow
30%.
as well. I mean, that's pretty solid. That definitely will help out against Wlfy and Vote.
And it's 6 seconds, which is also the other thing. 6 seconds anti-attack speed really does impact the game a little bit more. We'll find out how this continues on, though. Second Stoner Binding by the... Oh, no, it's not Stoner Binding at all. It looks like it in the picture for a second. Soul Eater. I don't know why I thought it was going to be Neith with this.
Kind of does look like. It's the same angle.
Similar, just different colors.
Yeah, just the same angle of, like, it's from the bottom left to the top right.
That is the same angle. You were right.
It's on the same axis.
There you go. We got there.
Soul Eater, I think, is actually really smart on on Neith in particular.
Got a bit of a buff.
Got a bit of a buff and gives her a lot of mana, 200, and that will synergize beautifully with Transcendence, which gives you mana or gives you power based on your overall mana. Gives her 10% CDR. Gives her a little bit of lifesteal that she can often lack in these builds. The CDR and the power and the mana, I think, while you're really looking at this. The lifesteal is a nice bonus.
iceiceicebaby was on the left-hand side, but under pressure has to blink away to safety back to the tier 1 tower. Now the rotation out from Callus towards the jungle side, but Obey set up nicely in this jungle, looking to try and get in fights. And Callus has just used his hammer, plucked back towards CaptainTwig. Worldweaver connects, Detonate used 2. Now the Dragon Bomb's online, and Obey are looking to try and clear this up, and will do so.
Nice Frenzy from Twig. Make sure that damage from Ataraxia will be enough. And with Frenzy still on him, they're going to try and burn down Wlfy, but it didn't last particularly long, and Rival is all here.
iceicebaby has no blink, used it on the left-hand side moments ago. Raph on the front line, eats a bit of poke, but Twig blinks in, gets the ring off and Deathwalker, but Phantom, I believe, was used there to get him out. Meanwhile, iceicebaby just walked into death, and Prime will survive it.
Prime did use his ultimate, though, so Rival still has an opportunity to get in and contest this Wlfy. Deathwalker's Phantom was huge there, prevented this from going really, really poorly.
Look on Deathwalker, not really the place they want him to be, but Obey will get the Wlfy. Wlfy, though, brings down Raffa, who was on zone duty, and now Deathwalker surrounded by 3 targets. Going to be chased down by just 2 as Twig is still on Wlfy and might get the kill.
He will. The auto attack's good enough. Kalas just can't get there in time. Ataraxia finishes off Deathwalker in the mid lane. Twig, pretty extended here, but still has his leap, still has his shield, and that's what Odin does, kind of baits objectives very, very well. Great fight from Obey Alliance, and it's really just this Cabrakan pick in my mind that isn't working right now for Rival. Iceice's really far behind right now, 3 levels down.
That's what he seems to be.
I mean, it's not just the Jungle Guardians, it's the build path as well. I just don't think Bancroft's gives you enough as a Cabrakan. You need some sort of protection, and you can just rely on your base damage so well through the early game. There's no reason to make yourself vulnerable to getting exploded like what happened to him right around that Wlfy that last fight.
Well, the amount of damage you put out with that Bancroft because of the power on it swings like a truck.
I don't think he got his 1-2 off. I think he was dead before he got his second ability off. So, yeah, you do a lot of damage with the first one, but you never even get to use the second one. A lower power build where you get to use both abilities will be more damage, no doubt.
Seeing Prime with that Divine Ruin as well. There's not a ridiculous amount of healing on Rival, but there's a little bit hidden away there on Artio, for example.
Yep.
And, of course, a Vote with those Devourers gone. And so that will make an impact in those team fights. Chain Lightning, quite easy to bounce around, and you can always refresh it with the pull of Detonate.
Yep, very easily. Look, I give European mid laners a little bit of flack for how often we see them build Divine Ruin where it probably isn't necessary. I think there's a smart Divine Ruin pickup because you also anticipate that both hunters will have some sort of lifesteal in their builds. I mean, Ullr has it built into his axe stance anyways as he's leveling up his switch stance. I think this is the right pickup.
You've also got Bancrofts on a Cabrakan, which is going to deny some of that.
Oh, man, can't let him heal up there, yeah.
Well, he won't be able to now, that's for sure. 11-4, 16.5 minutes in. The first Wlfy went the way of Obey. Wasn't the cleanest Wlfy in the world, I will say. They got a little bit risky with it, but worked out well. And now they're in a pretty dominant position this game. The gold lead is probably about the same as what Rival got to at certain points in the early game in Game 1.
Yeah, but I think that Rival's late game is not as preposterously good as Obey's draft was, but their early game is also much better at the same time. It's much more balanced overall than just
fights
fully shifted towards late.
Same time. Obey. Pressure in the mid lane, going to plug Callus into an awkward spot. While he was in the air, he lost half his health. Xalia's fighting 2. Meanwhile, iceicebaby and Deathwalker out of this fight.
Goodbye.
And Callus gets killed by the Detonate from Prime. Tier 1 tower still alive as Ataraxia was focusing on damage as Xaliea blinks away on the right after using his ultimate to escape the gank from iceicebaby. Tier 1 stood. All that happened was Callus fell down.
Didn't cost Obey too much. An ultimate and a relic in the form of Frenzy. Prime doing just stupid damage right now at this point. Level 15, he had the red buff. He's got that Rod of Tahuti. And that does make up for the lack of power that Divine Ruin provides you. Only 80 on that item, so you get a little bit of that extra makeup through 3 items. Prime is ahead in overall power numbers is where he would usually be with a traditional build. So it's worked out for him thus far.
Not sure if Rival recognized this Stone of Binding thing and just sort of triple Guardian and kind of went with Obey strategy against them.
They don't have one.
Without realizing what it is. Not one for any of them. I mean, obviously they can build it later in the game, but it is it's kind of a transitional item. It's not 1,700 gold. It's not massive amounts of gold. Do you really want to be wasting 6 item slot on an item like that?
No, I think that Ice, if he goes Boots into Stone of Binding, is in a much better spot, or Boots into Voidstone into Stone of Binding. I think Deathwalker could pick one up next. Don't think I really want him to switch out anything he has quite yet in that build for a Stone of Binding, but it's getting to an awkward point where you really want it by this point in the game.
Rafa got way lower than bargained for now, and the chase could be on for a kill. Wlfy fired at Callus' face. He was really aiming for Wlfy. Left-hand side, Boat was still farming up. Xaliea actually teleports over here, I believe, to make sure he was here for the Pyromancer that was already reset. So teleport down from Xaliea. Unfortunate circumstances.
I really like the double Phantom pick up here for Rival, especially the upgraded one on Kalas. I think it's pretty easy for Odin players to play around one Phantom. It is really, really hard to find a team with no Phantom whenever they've got 2 of them available. I think this is the right call against Odin these days. Phantom's such a good relic as is. Pick it up, upgrade it, it won't feel that bad, and it'll be nearly impossible for you to get caged.
Well, Xaliea picked up that second Stone of Binding to join the one that Rafa had earlier on too. Wlfy is about to spawn as the tier 1 in mid falls down. Obey starting to group up on this left-hand side early. And talking a little bit more about that Phantom, the upgraded version will reduce the damage that Prime's doing if you do get trapped inside that ultimate.
Really, really good. It's old shell, but also with Phantom. That's a good item.
Gold Fury's below 20%. Frenzy burst and Obey get the Gold Fury. Backline iceeicebaby goes in, gets the bees on a Prime, who drops the ult on himself. No one's in the ring though, and Vote takes to the sky looking for snipes. He's going to put the pressure on Prime and get out the Aegis. Xaliea eating a lot of damage to the front side though and getting very low.
Oh, but that damage coming from Ataraxia and Prime is good enough. A double kill for Ataraxia. Somehow Xaliea survives, by the way. He's still alive, and Ataraxia is still chunking.
And can he find the 4th kill, though? The race is on for Rival to run away. Deathwalker's been caught by CaptainTwig and slowed down. Spirit Arrow off the mark, but the Trucker Horn is there from Prime. 4 kills for Obey. Now they're looking for the 5th. Will this be a deicide?
It will. Kalas has got nowhere to go. Ataraxia with 4 out of 5. Obey Alliance get the Gold Fury and win the team fight after that. This is the Obey that everyone has been waiting for in Season 5. And this is what I was saying in Game 1. If Obey just pick normal stuff, they can beat up on Rival. They're good enough right now. And take a look at that team fight recap. Rival comes up with goose eggs in a bunch of really relevant categories. Obey nearly doubles their damage, gets 3k gold and 4k experience out of that fight. And they should get a Fire Giant here. There's no way Rival should be able to steal this away.
I've always felt that they should play through Prime. I always feel like Obey is the comp. They should always play through PrettyPriMe and have Ataraxia as a wingman for the team to support in cast, you know? When Prime gets focused, the team has to rally and protect Prime. Because if he's getting focused, it means Ataraxia is able to be that wingman of putting the damage out that's not being shut down.
Ataraxia's had a great game. Honestly, he had a really good Game 1 as well. That game was starting to turn in Obey's favor because of Ataraxia's play on the Xbalanque near his own red buff. I think that he's had a really solid Season 5 for all the struggles that Obey has had as a team. I think that Ataraxia has proven that he can still play at a really, really high level.
Well, he's worked on his itemization these days, that's why.
And it doesn't hurt him. Now, really the 5th item, Jotun's Wrath on Neith, I don't know how good that is.
I said that on purpose because I'm like, here we go again.
Sure. I mean, he is 10% overcapped on CDR with this build, which is a little bit awkward. I just don't think Jotun's is necessarily what he needs right now in the early game. I think
is he overcapped?
Yeah, 20% from Jotun's, 10 from... oh, no, you're right. That is 40%.
He's 40.
Yeah,
dead on.
My math is bad.
No problem. I'll protect you. That's what I'm here for. In the jungle, Deathwalker uses the cripple, gets rooted in place by Ataraxia. Has to dash away, but plucked back in by Rafa, surrounded by all 5 now. Prime gets the kill, and Rival have to turn tail and run towards their base because these towers will not last long. Celebration ring. That's what we'll call that.
Okay.
Close, but no cigar.
Deathwalker's really struggled this game on the Artio.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big fan of Artio as a character right now. I think you're really picking her exclusively as they have a lot of things that get shut down by Cripple, and I'm gonna make them regret that sort of pick. I don't think she's a plug and play anymore. I just don't think she really does enough. And Deathwalker has really struggled, whereas he set the tone beautifully for Rival in Game 1.
Tier 2 down, and the Phoenix under threat. Right-hand side, Fafnir still clearing camp, so Callus won't be here for this. And there's only 2 Hunters really here in the front line. Frenzy pop, Xaliea goes in, gets the beat out of Boat early on. Ice looking at the back line, but it's really telegraphed. Xaliea still eating a lot of damage from the Phoenix, though. Phoenix falls.
It does. Xaliea does not. He's able to stand tall. Phantom was actually used there. Nice ultimate from Ice, but look at that ult from Prime. Just keeps everyone away.
Zones them all back. Make sure those carries can't get involved apart from to the front line. And Prime gets a kill with a detonator. Ataraxia goes unstoppable. He'll find himself a double kill and 2 Hunters left. We're going to a Game 3 here, Ryan.
Man, Obey made it look easy too, didn't they? I mean, look, Odin Zeus is a really good combo, and that was a big part of it. But I just was not a fan of Rival's team composition here, and this is starting to become a trend where Rival has these kind of weak games. This was kind of a, they didn't go out with a bang in this one. It was just they kind of rolled over, and Obey just looked really, really strong in that game.
Well, that's 2 games down, and there's a chance for Obey to continue breaking the work that happened in spring from a lot of these teams on beating Obey.
If Obey win this game, then Europe is wide open right now. Obey, if they can win this set, that solidifies them as a top 2 contender without a doubt in my mind. In all of Europe is like
top 2 with who?
All the other 3.
Oh,
they're
right,
all
okay.
top 2 contenders at that point. Like right now during the spring, it was the top 3, the triangle, the Dig Energy, Rival triangle, and then Obey was below them. I don't know that you can say that anymore. I feel like Obey's playing at such a high level right now that they're ready to compete for top 2.
And that game worked out swimmingly for them as well. Who do you guys at home think deserves the MVP for that game?
Zeus.
A lot of people to look at, but you just want to say Zeus over and again, right?
That wasn't me. I didn't say that.
Was it not? Was it after?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think you would ever say it.
No, I think production might have said that in your ear. I definitely didn't say that.
Okay, that's fair. Well, you guys at home get to make the decision on that. We've seen 2 triple Guardian, double Hunter compositions so far. Both of them have lost.
Boo.
It's not working.
It's not that good. Assassin itemization is really good right now.
I want to keep reiterating that so people
Yeah.
at home don't go into the games and go triple Guardian, double Hunter. Like it's going to work every game.
Assassin itemization is really good. Pick Assassins.
And mages are
or
still
like
good. Even
Odin
though
when you have Zeus.
people are picking Hunters. Anyway, enough from us. Let's get over to the desk. It's Tom Taco.
Zeus. That's what happened. Zeus happened. Every time, going back to, when was it that Eager lost out to this team? Oh, man.
That was a while back.
My point is that every time PrettyPriMe gets in trouble, he goes to Zeus, and he gets to win. And that's what happened here. Zeus and Odin is classic as Smite itself, going all the way back to 2013. This combo's been doing it, and PrettyPriMe just keeping to it. Obey, I love the way Ryan put that, where Rival didn't go out with a bang whatsoever. I mean, they just kind of rolled over. Zeus did it.
It's just one of those circumstances, I think, where Rival definitely just could no longer afford to fight back into Obey's composition. Once they got that snowball factor going between the Odin and the Zeus, poor Kalis, man, he just had no escape on that Fafnir, whether it was de-transforming or trying to transform to avoid some of the damage. He was constantly just getting pulled, picked, and abused all over the place.
What are you going to do? Sometimes when it rains, it pours. Z-Man Sr., the Zeus himself, Ryan's favorite god. That's who's MVP. I guess it's the man behind it. PrettyPriMe himself, your mid laner for Obey Alliance, coming through with the most valuable player.
I honestly believe that if Obey had Prime on, whether it was a Zeus or like any other mage in the previous game, this might have been the end of the set, because I think the only thing Riot or Obey were truly missing in that first game was just that big burst of mage damage. It's too easy to counteract double Hunter, triple Guardian, because you just stack your physical defenses. There's not a whole lot that a Neith is really going to be doing in terms of like protection shred, and Twig went a little bit too support based, I think, with the Geb getting kind of caught up with being another frontlining factor as opposed to just like making up for the mage damage they were missing. And I think it was just too much pressure onto Xaliea to try and, you know, pick up where he left off, and it just wasn't able to come forward. But I love this classic wombo combo. You can't go wrong with Odin Zeus most of the time. I should clarify most of the time.
You can always go wrong with something. Before we get into Game 3, we were talking off air about that Geb, and you were talking about itemization. We could have seen a much more aggressive Geb jungle with the sort of Cabrakan mentality, right?
I think so. I think the big thing there was that Twig maybe got a little bit deceived by how the early game went. Whenever your solo laner is the one who gives us the first blood, and Xaliea was on the Cerberus, so that's kind of a tough lane to recover from.
Right.
There was just a lot of pressure from Rival really understanding Geb's most abusable aspect, and that is definitely his early game potential. It just was not there, so I think he also got forced into like just buying items to have them because he just didn't have the gold for other stuff.
Yes.